One day we'll record the pre-vlog.
Steve, episode 26 of the Broadway block, coming off a pair of losses. Uh, some good, some bad. What did you like about the games? What did you not like about the games?
Some good takeaways as always. I feel like the chemistry is not quite there. Obviously, we walk away with the point, um, but you gotta love the way we kind of were a little bit more resilient in that second game and didn't exactly. You can almost smell here we go again, as Gallant put it. But the guys were resilient, and we were able to at least get to the overtime where, unfortunately, Bread makes a very rare mistake, and it comes back to haunt us with Heiskanen basically having a breakaway the other way. So, um, some things to like about the scoring, at least. Fox looks amazing quarterbacking the back end. Kreider's coming up big with that net front presence. It's nice to see a little bit of certain aspects, at least the penalty kill in some regards. But what did you like about it?
Well, obviously, Adam Fox. I didn't draft him on my fantasy team for no reason. That guy is just making plays on ice. He looks like he's uh, above everyone else, and people got to come match his ability level, which I love on both sides. I like the first game. Like, obviously, we were in control for the first half. I think we were up on shots. I like that we were matching the intensity of the Capitals. With like our grit and everything. We weren't backing down. It didn't seem like anybody was getting pushed around too much. That game, you can't help those two OV goals. They were pretty nice, and then the rest just fell in with the TJ Oshie one and everything. Second game, I obviously liked the Adam Fox goal, just shooting down ice and getting it in there. Kako being there, maybe for the redirect, we'll see. Chris Kreider doing his usual Kreider in front of the net thing. I like that we didn't just roll over, like you said, Gallant. We battled back there. We brought it to overtime. And obviously, like you said, that could happen to anybody with Breadman making that mistake. I think Igor looked pretty good. I think Georgiev looked okay. It's kind of hard to say because I think the Capitals are a better team than Dallas. If Igor would have done better the first game, but I think it's just a lot of chemistry things. Obviously, the top six really didn't do too much production wise for us, so I think that will come over time. Uh, I like the third and fourth lines. I like the Sammy Blais aggressive play. Couple people that stood out. You've been mentioning Hunt's looked pretty aggressive. Um, just gotta love Ryan Reeves, just not backing down from anybody. I liked when him and Truber were in the box, and I texted you. It looked like he was gonna get at Ben, but it didn't happen. But it's just something to look forward to in the aggressiveness of Reeves and what that fourth line brings. So what did you not really like about the game, Steve?
So to piggyback off of my first comment, the penalty kill was the story for the first game. It was cool to watch Goudreau. It was a guy who stood out to me. He gets moved up and down the lineup a little bit already, getting that trust, and obviously with a letter on his chest, Gallant has a good amount of faith in him. So his play was intriguing to watch. In the second game, you watch Dallas kind of just make the special teams a big deal because we failed to capitalize on ours. They managed to sustain a lot of pressure, move the puck well, and didn't really let anything kind of come back up the ice when it got to 5-on-5. They were very reserved and kept us to a really limited amount of shot selection in general, and we weren't really keen on taking that bad angle shot or that quick shot. Finally, you watch Strome in the front of the net, and instead of taking it back and making a good move, he just puts it on the net because you're 4 minutes in and you don't have a shot on goal. So it's little things like that are a little bit alarming. Like you mentioned, I like the play of the third and the fourth line. The top guys got to be the top guys, though. Very very rare to see Panarin go a couple nights in a row here. So
Some things that I didn't like was our power play kind of looked a lot pretty flat. Uh, well, obviously the Kreider goal in the middle was great, but that's the usual for us. But it seemed like when the second power play group was on, it didn't seem like anybody really wanted to shoot. And I think we were just kept wanting to tee up and wait for our opportunity, and we weren't just putting enough pucks on net. So that was a little frustrating, but I'm hoping like over time, like we said, really happy we at least got that point because we all know how hard the Metropolitan is. So some other side storylines for the Rangers came out today that Ryan Strome is out on COVID protocols. So that will be, they said Greg McKegg got the call up for the game tomorrow. And then the other big storyline is Steve, our boy, Vitali. How do you feel?
Oh my God. It's such a weird situation to kind of feel completely mismanaged, if I'm honest. Like, Lias and now Kravtsov, like a little bit worse even now too. You mentioned some of the trades that happen where the previous GM doesn't have their fingerprint on it. This is different. Chris Drury kind of already had some handling of Leah Sanderson and of Vitaly Kravtsov in his time with the AHL club. So it's a little bit harder of a pill to swallow because it's not as if he's coming into the situation and doesn't have any part of all this. Another thing, it was mentioned that he didn't approve of the selection, which Vitaly was an off the board choice back when he was chosen. What do you feel about the Vitaly situation?
I think there's blame obviously on both sides. Obviously, there's something that bothers these European players about coming to America and not getting the play. Obviously, any NHL player obviously wants to get um, time in the NHL, but it seems like we lead these people on, and then they don't want to go to the AHL. They don't want to go to the Wolfpack. I don't know if it has to do with us being an original six, that they think they're coming to New York to play. They think they're ready, but they're going down to the AHL and they're coming. They don't want to go. So obviously, there's some other issue somewhere. We will never know because it's never going to be public information why he got so angry about going down to the AHL. But it's just sad because I don't think he's going to fetch very much for us. Like, he really was an unproven player. And like you said, an off board draft pick. So he doesn't come with like a lot of capital behind him. So we'd be lucky to get a second. And then we spoke earlier, where does he even fit in? He's not getting significant time he's not going to a team and getting first or second line time. So like, where does he really fit in for a team with a needy third or fourth player? Maybe we'll make a trade happen after injuries or COVID happens in the season, but it's just disappointing to waste a high first round draft pick, top 10 draft pick, and not see them succeed, and then not see them even have the chance to succeed with your organization. So that's just the really like sad, disheartening. You send me these texts about these people, and I'm like, I can't even believe it when I read it. I'm like, are you kidding me? So it will be interesting to see how it folds out.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough to kind of handle a little bit, especially the selection feeling like a wasted spot. Also, just to correct myself, I know Panarin was only held off the score sheet one night, but to not see that chemistry early is kind of hard. It's like one of the things that you kind of rely on, and it makes you kind of wonder the absence of a guy like Booch, the chemistry that the top line had. This is our first time seeing that. Now a year removed from the Fost Panarin Strom combination, which maybe we're seeing a little bit of a need for someone to get Panarin that puck, or for someone to mesh with Mika the way that Kreider, Buch, and Mika did. It's interesting to see how these are going to pan out and where a guy like you had mentioned, like Kravtsov, fits into this puzzle, because clearly there was something that either was seen or that wasn't, that led to this decision making. So ultimately they went with who they thought would be the best combinations. But even then, as far as an individual effort, I've liked Kako's play, but as you sit back and watch the thing as a whole, it's like, does he really fit into that role with those two guys specifically? That's going to be something interesting to keep an eye on, kind of moving down the line a little bit. This is why a guy like a Tom Wilson is so important, because he plays not only a top six role, but he plays that grinder role as well. So something that we need to see out of our top six. However, I was impressed with the hitting that was happening throughout the lineup, because it seems like the message has gotten across to the full team that physicality is part of the sport and that we need that from everybody as like a full buy-in.
Agreed. And something you mentioned, I think, in the last Broadway block was that Gallant is known for staying with his lines. He's not like Elaine Vigneault where he's just going to come in and change up the line. So it'll be interesting to see, does he stay with these line combinations that he's figured out and sees how they play out, or does he, make something different happen? Well, it'll definitely be interesting to see with Greg McKegg up there and Strome. Seeing Strome the last game, he was some of the only production at the beginning of the game for the top 6 lines anyway. He was shooting, he was making passes and everything. So does that hurt us, or does that give us like a fresh start almost without, doing a full line change because, of performance? Do you have anything else?
You have to have a reliable. Well, to say what you were gonna or to finish what you were talking about, basically the call up is important because you want a guy like McKegg to kind of step in and know his role. A guy like Kraftstoff, I feel like maybe wouldn't even have had to play a game in Hartford to have already seen a call up. I mean, this is the point, that we're kind of all trying to make, is that like, this is even more alarming that like we couldn't have just had him come up in maybe a day, and we're already calling somebody up. So we'll see how how McKegg can slot into that role. I feel like he knows it well, which is why we went out and
We
spent
gave
the
him
money on. Yeah, we gave him another shot. So
all right. Well, I think what we all have today for episode 26. Steve, we thank you for your time. Let's go Rangers.
thanks, brother. You too. Have a good one.
Have a good one.